Welcome to the clashing of steel. And it feels like it is time to let the Hounds run free. Boudica, of course, being the main commander for this specific task. Ever since the ambush was reworked, the dogs have been having a lot of fun. The war dogs are somewhat special to the barbarians. They get the most out of it, especially with this right commander. Yet at first they may seem like a force of nature. But they are highly valuable tactical units with specific goals. As an example, they can easily avoid any phalanx. Also, they're great against any light units. There of course are some downsides, like getting charged. As an example, my dogs got hammered in this small corner of the bushes. They did suffer huge health damage, but all of them are alive. Any type of range units will do massive damage to them, and of course, if the dogs are further away, cavalry or infantry can pretty much sweep up the dog handlers. War dogs have interesting roles to play when it comes to the battle. You can't play them easily as a struggle match fighter. You can't let them lose against infantry units. I mean you can, but they aren't significant struggle fighters as Germanicus. Commanders like Sulla can easily fight against them. The two focuses the dogs actually have is ignoring the phalanx, which is forcing opposing spearmen or pikemen out of their safe zone or comfort zone, while the other one is charge impact. I do not think that charge was planned against my dogs. He probably just wanted to get away. But okay, the charge impact for the dogs is very important. They do have decent damage when fighting against light units, or at least units without shields. And of course they can give you great flanking support. But they should never be left in a steady engagement where they are targeted. Or at least against an opponent who has very significant amount of troops left. It usually isn't very hard, or at least not extremely hard, to earn a score with them. Just wow, what is happening here? The stacked spearmen. Why am I never surprised? Well, this is a definite knockback. Simple tactical errors that could be fixed, and another one. I'm guessing these guys will be the nails in my coffin. But okay, Catapult seems to be doing well, and this is another prime example of offensive players who go head on in. The handlers and the swordsmen. There of course would be exception if you are cavalry or any type of horsemen, because they have the mobility to outrun most other infantry. But a move like this just won't pay off, especially if you're sending your dogs and your handlers in from the same direction. And oh, what do we have there? Those spearmen are just excellent targets for my war dogs. I fear that there was too many of us on this side of the map, and because of that, the other side is probably going to lose. But our priority right now should be to deal with the cappers. We should decap them ASAP and probably destroy them if we can. I have already let loose the dogs just to be safe. I could have probably held them and let Catapult finish them off, but because they were so eager to use the phalanx, the dogs are going to damage them quite lethally. Another target of mine needs to be the pikemen, because they are probably even more dangerous than any of the other units. And as it was to be expected, the spearmen had lost and, well, horsemen were chasing after the javelins. And these pikemen don't surprise me at all. I was expecting them to go after the war dogs, to fight them, not in phalanx but just fight them. And since they're acting like this, I can even send in my handlers. And well, those remnants of my war dogs are still doing some damage, at least. But what actually is the most fun is sending the war dogs against ranged units, like slingers back there. I'm going to send one of my units around and let loose the dogs. The dogs are going to do massive damage on them, seeing as they don't have any proper melee offense nor melee defense. And for these situations where there might be threat of ranged units, I'm also going to use the whistle. just to give the Hounds a bit extra speed. I have pretty much done all that I could during this match. The dogs are not immortal. They can sometimes be very effective when they are let loose in a stacked formation, but often enough it can also backfire terribly. These units are not as straightforward as Germanicus, although they can be decent if you let them loose in head-to-head battles. But still, the best tactical value is if you spread them and surround your opponents, preferably using them against units like pikes or spears. Even if they get a drop on the opposing horsemen, they can be excellent. In some of the fights where you know that your opponents do not have the charge ability, so they can't counter-charge you, you can let loose the dogs just for the charge impact. Even sending them in from the front might actually do quite a lot of charge impact damage, and then pulling them straight back out. The trick is not to leave them engaged, while at the same time you want to make sure that they won't be flanked or surrounded. The War Dogs are one of the more interesting and fun units in the game that actually have great tactical value if you know how to use them. But another problem often can be that your team members don't exactly know how you could be utilized, and therefore their actions may counteract yours. But for the best effect with the War Dogs, you also want to time your rebellion, your TF5 commander ability, either letting dogs loose when the buff is activated, or letting the dogs loose and running after them with rebellion, which has a wind-up time before it gets activated. Or if you truly don't see any way you could support with your War Dogs, you don't want to let them run through your friendly infantry units. That will just ruin their charge and will mess up the engagement. You might just want to stay behind your friendlies and use the rebellion to buff them. You never need to go fully offensive, but it would be great if you could support your friendlies with the War Dogs. Also, if you plan to send your dogs against units which have strikes, you might want to activate Ambush and keep that unit away from the engagement. Ambush makes your dogs ignore the strike abilities, and Ambush can easily be deactivated once you get too close to your opponents. There are some players who prefer to send their dogs in from one direction and infantry from the other, or at least the handlers, but it might not always go as you plan. Just like I did here, I charged into my very own troops. But okay, let's take a look at the scoreboard. And as you can see, the War Dogs rocked the game. Sadly, we lost, but the bottom two players in my team could have actually turned this match around. Those were the spearmen that stacked and the archers they couldn't defend. The opposing team's Leonidas is the main focus of mine. He's the main unit I annihilated. Him and his slingers. I also helped to finish off opposing team's spearmen and the Vercingetorix with a very mixed combination. Most of my capping came from offense, decapping and support, and very little came from defense. I tried to do all that I could, but apparently it wasn't enough. And of course you can't win them all. The War Dogs are always this fun pick, so if you want to try them out, I would truly suggest it. But it takes some tactical know-how and good teamwork from the team to manage them perfectly. Anyways, don't forget to subscribe, and thanks for watching.